Hey ho, let's go. Hope everyone is well out there. Welcome to Pugsley's Pit. Welcome back, our valued listeners and those who may be joining us for the very first time. And as we always do at the beginning of each show, we begin by asking you the question, where else would you rather be than right here? Boom, right now. How's everyone? Michael, how are you?
I'm great, Sean. They pitched. They actually had games.
Yes.
Baseball games started on Friday. So it's all good. I saw Shohei Ohtani strike out today. He's overrated. That contract's a disaster. So that's
Got it.
already off to a great
Already
start.
a disaster.
Already a mess, and already questions in Los Angeles about that contract.
He did hit a home run though. But anyway, I digress.
Let's not get lost in the details.
Anyway, speaking of details, for those that don't know, this is episode 88, the David Pasternak edition. We do have the Bruins on tonight. Pugsley's Pit, no unwritten rules, our baseball show. Again, welcome back. I'm Sean Pugsley Martin. This is Mike Nelson. Major League Baseball. It is underway. You can follow us on Twitter at Pugsley's Pit. We each have our Twitter handles in the little boxes with our names, taking the podcast on YouTube. And please remember, smash the like button, hit the subscribe, all that.
Subscribe. We're still well over 499,000 subscribers.
Yeah. Dare to dream. Dare to dream.
Yeah, I know. I mean, it'd be nice to get a check for a nickel from YouTube.
It would. It would.
It'd be a pain in the rear end of cash, but mobile deposit.
Yeah. Take a snapshot of it and be done with it. Anyway, today, AL Central, later in the show, our new pitch clock and launch angle segment. Mike, why don't you lead? The AL Central is
home of the 2016 St. Louis Cardinals pitching rotation.
That's a bad division.
It is a bad, you know what? It's a really bad division. And then in your preview of pitch clock, I really dug into lineups today.
Yeah.
This division is shopper's paradise, because I feel like that any one of these teams, as they close into the All-Star break, could be in it, but could also see enough of a glimpse of what tomorrow looks like to make bold moves with veteran players.
Sure.
You clear the path for there's some really good young talent in this division. And there's some teams that really make you scratch your head to what they're actually doing.
Okay. So
one in particular, I think.
Where do you want to start? Because there's so much incompetence here. Here's what's bad about this division. There's teams in there that at least give the appearance that they're trying to win. The A's are terrible because they don't want to be good.
Yeah, they have no interest in participating in Major League Baseball. No. For me, with the exception of one team, right? The team that used to have a shower in right field at Comiskey Park and wore shorts. One of these teams could exceed expectation. To me, they could exceed expectation and surprise, or they could be just plain bad.
Let's start with the White Sox, right?
Let's start with the White Sox.
A couple years ago, Luis Robert, Eloy Jimenez, all this good young talent. Giolito, Tim Anderson, Giolito was an ace back then.
Nolan Cease.
And then they bring in a 118-year-old manager who can't come on the show because he's too big into his unwritten rules. We don't allow that here.
Yeah, we would love to have him, but he's probably sleeping at a stop sign someplace in his car.
Hey, it happens. Yeah.
Sometimes you just got to shut it down.
They're a dumpster fire. How did it get so bad?
It's a great question, because it's 3 years ago. Right? They were the darling pick to go to the World Series, not just to be good, to go to the World Series.
I think I picked them to go a couple of years ago.
They horribly underperformed. change managers, right? Which was the right thing to do,
Yeah.
given given everything with a really young team and a guy managing them that just couldn't connect to those young players. Fun players, great personality. They make a couple of moves last year. Liam Hendricks comes back, unbelievable story,
Yep.
coming back from cancer. They suck again. And
Terrible.
and with the exception of one player on that team, they all regressed.
They did.
Like Lewis Roberts, the only guy that's actually progressing as a major league player. Maybe Andrew Vaughn a little bit, but like what pitcher, what like Michael Kopech?
No,
The
he hasn't. He's been hurt. I mean, Cease. Look at Cease. He was
Moncada?
freshman last
That
year.
the Red Sox won that trade, and I don't remember who the Red Sox got back in that trade, and they won that trade.
But what did they do to Dylan Cease? And mind you, full disclosure, I saved Dylan Cease in my fantasy baseball team last
So
year.
they want the rumor is they're in a great position, frankly. If they keep them, at least they've got a top of the rotation starter who gives them a very consistent performance, regardless of what that team is, right? He's going to give you what he's going to give you. He's got great command. He's a really good pitcher. He's an extraordinary bargaining chip for them.
Yeah.
But they're asking for a king's ransom for what? The 22nd, 23rd best starter in Major League Baseball?
He's a strikeout guy, right? But
He's you
got to earn that.
He's not as much a strikeout guy as he was when they went to the balanced schedule.
Yeah. Okay.
Right. And the unbalanced schedule, when the Royals and the Tigers were striking out 14 times a game, he was picking them up in bushel baskets.
I mean, you look at, they lost some big names. They lost veterans. Hendricks, Andrus is way too old, but Yasmani Grandal's gone. Clevenger's gone. Hendricks, you said.
Yeah.
Tim Anderson.
Yeah, but their answer for losing veterans is to bring in Paul DeYoung, Mike Moustakas, and Kevin Pillar. Like, so we're going to lose veterans and go young, and then we're going to bring in three guys that are north of 35.
That's great.
And that's what this is, a new front office again, right? They blew up the front office at the end of last year. So I don't know. I just like Hendricks is gone, and I think he's hurt. I think he's injured anyway, so he's probably a midseason pickup for somebody. But like, I don't honestly see. Like, I don't see how they win 70.
I don't know.
Maybe.
I don't know.
I don't even see how they get to 70. Eloy Jimenez is
team in the worst division, and
if I was the general manager of the White Sox, and I think Eloy Jimenez is a talented player, I would move him today.
In a heartbeat.
They pick up Mike Soroka. He's already hurt. With no surprise. But if Mike Soroka is rookie or Mike Soroka, they just found a gold nugget. Right? They sign, Eric Fetty from Washington, the guy with the 5 ERA, and he's their 3 starter. So what, like, I don't understand like, it doesn't seem like there's a plan. There's just not a plan. Blow up the middle infield. I get their veterans. I get they wanted to move on from Tim Anderson, who's been disappointing the last couple of years.
He's kind of a headache too.
He's a little bit of a headache, but maybe the change of scenery helps him in Miami. Who knows? But
he's a good player.
They blow up their catching and they bring in Martin Maldonado. And I don't care if you're Yadi Molina or Pudge Rodriguez. That rotation is that rotation. He's not going to make that rotation any better than what they are. Maybe he'll have an impact on Kopech.
Yeah.
And maybe Kopech's command will be better. Like, Kopech's a bad Blake Snell. You know what I mean?
All right.
Nicky Lopez plays all over the place, but they aren't really, like, they lost more than they gained.
Yes.
They do have kids coming. They do have middle infielders coming. And I don't know how they, Dominic Fletcher, who they acquired in a trade, is supposed to be a decent player, but every time Gavin Sheets was in the lineup, he produced. So he's so But does he play 4 out of 5 games and play in different positions every day? But how does that help him?
Yeah.
So I don't know. They're a bad baseball team. They're
Okay.
a bad baseball
So
team.
here's another team. Last year, this time you figured Cleveland would go through the motions a little bit and then sell everything off because they have the next wave coming probably a year away. They were better, I think, than people thought. They kept Ramirez and they didn't do it. But now you look at it and they didn't have any offseason. They're another team. You kind of say, meh, what? They're just kind of there.
I did see. I don't watch spring training baseball, but I do look at. I don't watch spring training baseball on purpose because. I mean, maybe toward like mid-March, I'll start watching when guys have gotten work in, but I'm not. But I did see everybody's old Cleveland pal Carlos Carrasco dealing the other day for the. I do look at the box scores to see who's pitching, and what kind of start they're off to. And Carlos Carrasco's back in that rotation. To me, they've got. To me, it's the Shane Bieber watch, and he's been rumored to be on the trading block a number of different times. They have enough.
Yeah.
They have enough rotation depth, despite the fact that he's their number one. They have enough rotation depth without him to be whatever they're going to be. But like Tristan McKenzie comes back and has the year that he had 2 years ago. He's got ace potential, right? Gavin Williams looked good. Logan Allen looked good. BB looked good. Like they keep churning these young pitchers. They keep churning these young pitchers out. They've got probably the best closer now that Hader's on the Astros, one of the best closers in the American League.
Yeah.
I mean,
I don't know.
But Bieber could bring them back a lot.
Here's my problem with
power. Like the brothers Naylor, that's a cute story, but they make the move. They make the move with Tampa to bring in Kyle Manzardo last year, and who was a touted prospect first baseman. But what does that do to Naylor?
Yeah,
Josh Naylor's got to play. He's their only power in their lineup.
I just look at Cleveland and say they won 76 games last year, and they didn't do anything to get better.
Well, maybe Ramon Laureano gets back on the juice and he gets some Poppins back this year.
Whatever it takes. Whatever it takes.
Maybe he can get some purple Drek. He brought it with him from Oakland, left over in the locker room.
Yeah.
From Jamarcus's old.
Yeah,
I don't know. They're a middle.
So by the way, 3 years of doing a podcast, I haven't heard that name in a long time, and
you're welcome.
Don't ever do it again.
I'm here for that. I'm here for that. I'm here to pick the scab. I'm a scab picker.
That the Jamarcus Russell experience was just.
I can't remember what I had for dinner 25 minutes ago, but I do remember that name pisses you off. So that's the kind of stuff that there's value. There's value in this podcast.
All he had to do was listen to me screaming at him in the Meadowlands. I was in the end zone. I think we lost 44-7. Ahmad Bradshaw, like 800 yards rushing for the Giants. And I just kept telling people during the tailgate party, which is obviously the best part of the day.
Yeah, usually is.
Russell's march to the Hall of Fame is going to begin that day. I'd had a few. Give me a break.
Clearly.
Somebody
slipped you a Mickey.
And that poor guy is dropping back to pass like he's got 82 seconds to throw.
I know. Like he's in shorts and a t-shirt.
And I'm in the end zone. He's at the 30, picking himself up off the ground again after Antonio Pierce sacked him again. And I'm just screaming, pocket poise for 3 hours. Thanks for bringing that up.
Yeah, and you said it loudly enough that it's been echoing around, and I've carried that through the Zach Wilson era for the last 3 years. So I had
Giants fans feel bad for me buying me beer. So anyway, back to AL.
But when we opened, if Cleveland won 85 games, would you be surprised?
Yes.
You know what? I would be
would.
mildly surprised if they won 75 games. Would you be surprised? No.
No,
If
I
they
hope
won
they do
90, I would
well.
be shocked. I would be shocked if they won 90. But they have that lineup is still a pain in the rear end. Like they're contact driven. They move runners around. They've got really good speed. They have to small ball you to death. And 2 years ago, it worked with basically the same cast.
2 years ago, where the reason I'm rooting for them this year is Stephen Vogt, the manager. He's an
Yeah,
A's
that's
legend,
going to be. I want that to be
Bay
a good
Area
story.
legend. Hope he does well.
I want that to be a good story. I want him to.
Yeah.
He's always one of those root for guys, and I think he's
Yeah.
going to be. I think he's going to be a really good manager. I think that's their best addition. And Tito's going to be missed. I mean, Terry Francona is everything anybody would have wanted in a manager for a young team. I mean, he's relatable, great with the media, and the game's going to miss him. But good for him to retire. But I think they brought the right guy in on a relatively young team with a, if fully healthy, a Cy Young candidate pitcher, an MVP caliber offensive player, and then a bunch of guys around him that you hope can contribute enough to make them hang around the division to win the division. Because this division, if a wild card team came out of this division, we would all be shocked.
No way. Well, okay, let's go to the Twins, right? They won the game. They won it last year, 87 wins. They cleared it by almost 10. I really enjoyed them last year. I like the Twins. I followed them. They were a fun team. I don't see that this year. They lost.
They're fun for me when they play the Yankees in the playoffs. Because
that's always fun for you. It's 3-0.
Yeah.
Get in,
Well, look,
good morning.
So they lose Eddie Whitson. Oh, I'm sorry, Sonny Gray.
Sonny is gone.
That's a loss, right? That's a pretty big loss, right? They lose. They make the trade with Seattle to fill in the rotation and get DeSclafani back for Jorge Polanco, and they needed to do something on the infield. They needed to, because Royce Lewis could win the MVP this year.
Yeah,
and Julian, he is my guy, man. It's about time, right? They've been talking about him since they drafted him.
Yeah.
And then he got hurt, and then he got hurt, and then he got hurt, and then he got hurt. But man, the dude can hit, right? So they've got the top two in the rotation. Pablo Lopez and Joe Ryan are really good. Good.
They are. Oh, Pablo Lopez was a beast.
Bailey Ober is a perfect 4 starter who's slotted in at 3. Chris Paddock, good luck hitching your wagon to him, because
I don't like the Paddock. You lose Sonny Gray and Kenta Maeda to a division rival with Maeda going to Detroit. I just don't like that. And that's,
I don't like replacing him with Paddock and now if DeSclafani's healthy.
Yeah, you know what?
The guy that pitched for the Giants 2 years ago, then that's a good move for them. But they got their closer's spectacular.
Here's the problem with DeSclafani, okay? And we're going to find out, because the Giants always seem to have the right formula with these pitchers they bring in. They bring in vagabonds and make them all-stars. And we'll see if DeSclafani can keep that going now that he's not there. It'll be a good litmus test of that.
Right. Carlos Santana is 175 years old.
Yep.
He's older than the guy that's in my background, but he's going to hit 214. He's going to drive in 80 runs. He doesn't kill you at first base. He's going to walk 100 times. He can't run. It's not like they're going to move him around. What it comes down to for them? The same thing it comes down to every single year. Is Byron Buxton going to be able to play 150 games, 130 games?
No.
History says no way.
64.
He's electric, man. The dude is an unbelievable baseball player.
Yeah, I know he is. I drafted him in the second round of our league.
I feel bad for him. I feel bad because I feel bad for baseball that we don't get to see him like on the regular 140, 145 games a year, because he's a super talented player. They make the trade the other day for Manuel Margot, right? They've got Alex Kurloff, who's always hurt. Atlantic is what he is. mean, Kepler, they tried to trade him 17
Yeah.
times in the offseason. I mean, but roster wise, they probably have the best roster in the division.
They probably do. By the way, I want to clarify something I just said. When I took Buxton in the second round last year in our draft, that's in a 5. Just so people don't think I'm completely lost my mind. We keep 5. So when I say second round, it's really the 7th round was still.
Yeah, and he ended up on my roster last year, and then he got hurt, and then
run fast and run far,
and run fast, run far, and then hit a wall, literally.
So I'm going to bring it. Let's go to Detroit. I know another one of your guys. I'll say the name Tarek Skubal and let you have it because he's awesome.
He is awesome, man. He's awesome. He's awesome. I mean, we'll relate it to fantasy. If you're focused on offense and pitchers go off the board and you're in the 3rd round and he's still there, take him.
Yeah.
I mean, take that guy. He's gonna, if he stays healthy.
If he stays, he's gotten through it, but he has shown flashes.
Oh man, his mid-August to the end of the season last year.
Yeah,
boy, he is electric, and they're a fun team. They played better than their record last year.
Yeah, they killed my over-under. That's my over-under prognostication took a beating last year with them, but maybe second year with AJ Hinch. Look what they added. Yeah. They added Maeda, Flaherty. Not great, but they're going to eat some innings for you.
No, they signed Gio Urshela today. So I mean that helps them if the young kids can't get off to a good start, or if they struggle defensively, they've got, that's a guy he's not going to hurt you.
Yeah. But even their rotation depth, right? You got Skubal, you got Maeda and Jack Flaherty, who, we'll see.
Yeah. If it was 2011, I'd be thrilled.
But Manning and Casey Mize doesn't strike out a ton of guys, but
Manning's coming back from injury, and that was the other, it was Mize, Manning, and Skubal. Those were the 3, right?
Yeah.
And Torkelson. That was the group within a couple of years that they drafted that they were going to build around. I mean, Spencer Torkelson's really good. He's really good. I'm excited to see Colt Keith. I think that's a good signing. Maybe Javi Baez gets back to being the Javi Baez that he was before he got paid.
I think he sucks. I think he's no longer that good at the game of baseball.
Yeah.
Maybe that's the problem. He got paid.
I mean, maybe Riley Green stays healthy and he becomes the American League's version of Michael Harris, which is the comp that they have. I don't know. He hasn't been healthy enough to find out, right? I mean, is Alex Lang a good closer? They didn't win enough games to really know. You don't really know, if they did or not. But they've got some exciting young pieces. Bringing Marcana in a trade was a good move for them.
That was a great move for them. Solid.
He's a professional baseball player, man. That guy's a pro. He's a pro.
Yep.
And he's always been. And when he gets the opportunity to play, he's productive.
Sure.
He's productive in Oakland. He was productive for the Mets. When he gets the opportunity to play, he's productive. He's perfect guy in your lineup, right? You don't really need to expect anything, but he's going to deliver beyond whatever that expectation is. So, AJ Hinch is a good manager. I mean, it's like, the running joke is, how good is he without the trash can? But at the end of the day,
a joke I promote.
At the end of the day, for a young team, he's already proven he can manage a young team, right? He's proven it.
A cheater.
So they could surprise a lot of people. He did cheat.
I believe that 100%.
Cheated like a bastard, that guy.
He did.
That's where all cheaters go to die in Detroit.
I have no issues with the Tigers. I hope they do well this year. So if Hinch does well, good for him. That stain will never go away, but I'm over it. A little. Well, for him, not for some of the other guys. Not for some of the other cheaters that are still down there. How about Kansas City, right? They got approved for a stadium. Imagine that.
They did.
Nobody held the city hostage. whatever the deal is. They don't have to go through what I'm going through with my
They
team.
did. Like they signed Michael Waka. They signed Seth Lugo. I mean, Cole Reagans was lights out last year.
He was lights out.
And he was great. He was
They
great.
lose Zach Greinke in a 62-mile-an-hour fastball, but
to the point where they're opening day starters. Their fourth starter now. Like Brady Singer dropped off the planet.
He did.
He was not very good last year. They've got one of my favorite players, certainly my daughter Margaret's favorite player, and Sally Perez. I mean, how do you not love that guy? He's a terrific player. Their biggest ad honestly in the offseason is Vinny Pasquantino coming back from injury.
Yeah.
I mean, giving Bobby Witt that contract and then getting the stadium.
Great.
That's
great.
That clearly tells the fans that like enough's enough. And they're doing enough they made enough moves. I think they brought in a lot of players. They brought in a lot. Hunter Renfroe.
Hunter Renfroe,
so they bring a little more power.
Yep.
You know what their problem is? They could be as good as they want to. Will Smith's your closer, and that is no bueno. I mean, they traded for Kyle Wright. He is out for the season. So that's enough. But at least they're efforting to be a better team. And last year, I thought they were. I mean, I picked them. I was dead sure they were going to go way over last year, and they did not.
And by the way, I have to throw in a plug for their new manager, Matt Quattrero. Bethlehem High School, Del Mar, New York. My alma mater. He's now the second most famous. No, actually, we've had some famous people there, not for good reasons, but
well, there's a line between famous and infamous. You know that
there is.
There is a line between famous and infamous, but they're another team. If the Royals won 80 games, which is a pretty big bump from last year, 15-game bump.
How were they so bad last year? They have some good young players.
They couldn't pitch.
Okay.
They couldn't get anybody out. Like their starting pitching was horrible. It was until Reagan's like really started he like burst out after the All-Star break. The Singer was a massive disappointment. Massive.
Oh, he was bad.
He was really bad, and that was unforeseen by them and by all of us in fantasy that were enamored with the year that he had before.
Yes.
And he was based on his performance last year, he was drafted way too early last year. He's a flyer guy in your last round of your draft. You want to stash a pitcher and see how he does because you got roster flexibility. I'd take a flyer on him in the last couple of rounds of my draft just because who knows, right? Somebody's got to pitch there. Yep. I mean, I'm not sold on Waka, though he's been pretty good for the last couple of years. I don't know why I'm not sold on Seth Lugo because he's been really good.
You're not
sold. He was really good. He's been really good for San Diego. He was great in a role with the Mets. He's been really good. I don't know why I'm not sold on him. I guess.
Well, you're not sold on Walker for the same reason I'm not, because the stats are there, pretty good in San Diego. But it's like when you hear someone's name and the first thing you think of is he's still in the league. That's bad. That's not a good thing. But he's still logging innings.
I mean, Michael Garcia is a poor man's Luis Suarez. He just gets on base. I mean, that's what he does. They bring in Adam Frazier. He'll fill a perfect role for them. He'll be really good in that lineup. I mean, Melendez can hit.
Yeah.
Hunter Renfroe is going to do what Hunter Renfroe does.
He's going to have 248, hit 26 homers, drive in 82, score 70.
Right.
He's not going to kill you.
Nondescript productivity. Mark Canha, same guy. Yeah.
He's not
nondescript productivity. Doesn't hurt you in the field. He's good enough at everything that you need to keep him in the lineup if you can, if he's healthy.
Yep.
But he's not going to carry you. But Sal Perez can carry him. Pasquantino can carry him. And Witt can carry him. And Witt is a dynamic.
He's a beast.
He's a dynamic player. That'll be another episode when we talk about kids of former players, and we'll get to one next week who's coming up soon, man. They're like Kyle is like they've got good young talent. They brought a lot of what they brought is they brought a lot of good young bats, and it's very similar. It's very similar to when Hosmer, Mousakis, Sal, Perez, when those guys came up. It's very similar that a number of good young bats come up through their organization. They haven't developed a pitcher to save their butts in forever.
You're right.
It's since Paul Splittorff. It's got to be that long, right? It has to be.
Well, who was first?
Right.
Splittorff or Larry Gura?
Screw him.
Yankee killer. Larry
He was
Gura.
a Yankee killer. Screw him. My background was going to be George Brett Pinetar, but it was too blurry. And
here's the problem rooting for the Royals. I root for the teams in the small cities now and that are crappy because that's my life. I can't feel bad for them because the 76 Royals dethroned the A's, and no non-Yankee fan enjoyed Chris Chambliss' home run off Mark Littell more than I did. And then the whole George Brett thing, I grew to really hate that team, but that might be one thing I'm over. I kind of hope they do good.
It's weird because I hated them forever because it was because the end of the season was a brawl with those guys for a little bit. And then Maggie starts playing softball, decides to be a catcher, and she just like whimsically says, "Who's the best catcher in baseball?" And I go, "I don't know, Salvador Perez." And the next thing you know, I got a Royal Sal Perez jersey in my house and a Sal Perez bobblehead and a Royals pennant. And now she's a friggin' Royals fan.
The Royals fan?
Yeah, because she's a Salvador Perez fan, but she doesn't disassociate. Unlike this new generation of fans who are player fans, and that's fine. That's fine. They don't have. I mean, my son is the shining example in every sport. He likes the team his favorite players on, and that's the way it goes, and that's fine.
By the way,
I think it's wrong. It's grossly wrong. You got to suffer and die with your teams, but that's the way. But in any event, she doesn't disassociate being the fan of a favorite player and being the fan of a team. And when the trade rumors were on about him last year, as much as I don't think she 100% pays attention, she was literally texting me every day. I can't believe they're thinking about trading Sal Perez. Let me just relax. I'm going to trade Sal Perez.
Speaking of that, Liam tonight asked me to show him all the NHL logos so he could pick his team.
Yeah.
No, he chose the Islanders.
You only show him. Did he really?
He chose the Islanders.
Good for him, man.
I like this one. I'm like, why? Why?
He would have liked the logo a few years back when the Gordon's Fisherman was on the logo.
Yeah, right. We want fish sticks. All right. Division predictions. May I begin this week?
You may begin. You may begin.
Detroit. Detroit's going to win. I think they're going to be good enough. I think 84-85 wins this division this year. Minnesota second.
I agree with that.
Yeah. Minnesota second. Kansas City third. Cleveland. And but honestly, my notes for this show for Cleveland, I wrote one word, meh. And that's the first time I've ever used that word in my life. I've never used that term. And then the White Sox are last because they deserve to be picked last.
I've known you for 35 years, and I've never heard you use the word meh.
I've never used it ever until just
40 years. I've known you for 40 years at least.
Special. That's awesome.
I've never heard that.
That's how special this segment is with the Indians or Guardy. I keep calling the Indians. That's okay.
That's all right. Come on.
I'm 25% Mohawk Indian. I think I'm allowed to.
I think you are. Call them whatever you want.
Let's not go political. We could go political. Might be here a little while, but anyway. How about what you say?
Well, the White Sox in last is the easiest part of this jumbled division. I agree with 85 wins. 87 tops is going to win this division.
Yeah. 87 won it last year, and I don't think the Twins are as good.
I don't think anybody's good enough in this division to win 87 games.
Yeah.
I still think the Twins have the best roster and the most tested talent to win the division. But I would go Twins, Tigers, Indians, Royals, And if that totally flip flopped, I wouldn't be. This is a really tough division to pick. This is one of those somebody has to win it, and because we're doing this, we have to pick somebody. I don't feel good about it. I don't feel good about the order that I just picked, except for the White
Yep.
Sox. I feel great about that. If
Hey,
it wasn't for that vagabond team on the West
guess who
Coast,
forgot the banners again
well,
this
at
week?
least you got to it on the last one. That's pretty good. You went to the whole segment. Well, you're sick, so we didn't have a production meeting today,
Well,
and you
yeah.
were probably in a state of shock because your son is an Islander fan now.
This one, look, I didn't even make this up. I didn't even do this on purpose. Here's one that I made.
That's well done by you.
Oops.
That's it.
That wasn't even intentional. Anyway,
Maybe you should switch to Dayquil instead of Nyquil, and you
yeah,
wouldn't
right.
be so.
We'll go with the tie. We'll go with my pick. Well, that's safe. They haven't changed their name.
Yeah, I just don't feel good about. I don't feel good about picking this division in any real order, except for last place.
Yeah,
I just don't because we've talked about all these teams, and there's nothing that we've talked about that's convinced either one of us or our millions of viewers to lead us to believe that we feel strongly about any of these teams being anything more than I made it over 500 and I won the division.
yeah,
That's where we are.
yeah. And be first round fodder for the Orioles.
Yeah. Yeah.
All right.
Or whoever wins the West.
Shall we go? That'll be Oakland.
But there's not even a team there anymore.
We got one more year. And by the way, Miss Mayor, don't give in. The A's concessions are, we'll share the stadium with the soccer teams. That's okay. We're okay with that because we're going to get our $70 million local TV revenue.
Two soccer teams, not one, two.
Two. No.
Two.
Don't buy that. The A's are in no position to bargain on that extension for 3 years. Don't give them anything. Keep your team.
Next week's going to be an extended version.
Yeah, we'll be on that. But since
next week's going to be an extended version because there's a lot to unpack in that mess.
Since I decided to bring up, there you go. Anyway, are you ready for the pitch clock?
I am ready for the pitch clock.
Hey, I am up this week. Here we go. Number 1, Cleveland, quiet off season. The Guardians start slow with a poor offense. They're going to trade Jose Ramirez, and they prepare for the next wave of some very good prospects ahead in 2025. Kansas City, I don't know, 56. I remember last year they were battling the A's for the worst record in baseball for a while. They're going to threaten 500. But they're going to win at least 20 games more than last year's 56 total. I'm going to say they win 78, give them a 22-game improvement. Detroit, one of the most disappointing teams in 23. They're going to win the Central. I have them down for 85 wins. That's the pick. The Twins, they just didn't do enough to stay. They're going to miss the playoffs, and it's going to be another meh year in Minnesota. It's 2 times. White Sox, Dylan Cease gets traded at some point and sooner rather than later so they can keep a value on them. And that's it, a complete rebuild for that dumpster fire. Done. Got it.
Done.
All right.
It is done.
Are you ready for did you notice how I switched the pitch clock launch angle banner too? About 10 seconds.
I did notice that.
Definitely.
I look at, we're our graphics department's been working overtime for the last week. Lots of, you can tell by our change of font color in the background that the graphics department, our creativity off the charts.
It's sheer chaos in the control room right
now. But the gummies didn't come in. So so that definitely affected the artistic thought process for sure.
Oh, it's brutal.
It's terrible. Yeah. Right. Okay, let her rip.
You ready for your launch angle?
I am.
Here we go.
I don't see any way on earth that the Indians trade Jose Ramirez. He's the only reason people show up. He's all they got. They have nothing else. And he's on a super friendly contract. Though he does have tremendous value. I will give you that. But I mean, I feel very weirdly that as easily as you would say Detroit's going to win the division, I can make a case in a bad division for Cleveland to win the division, and they're not going to trade a guy that can get them there. I just don't see them. I just don't see a world where Jose Ramirez gets traded, and he doesn't want to. And he doesn't want to be traded. He likes it there. He likes to play there. So I just that one I'm launching. I'm launching the Cleveland. The rest of them, I like them all.
Okay, very good.
I like them. I like them all. I think 20 games for the Royals. I agree. I didn't pick the Tigers to win the division. Would I be surprised if they did? No. I don't think the Twins are going to miss the playoffs, but if they don't win the division, they're going to, and that's a and
yeah.
If Dylan Cease isn't traded, then this new regime is just as moronic as the old regime.
I agree with that.
If
that's the case, they don't know what they're doing.
They're not going to trade Lewis Robert. They're not doing it, and teams are poking around about him, and they should. They should.
Yeah.
I think, as I said earlier, they should trade Eloy Jimenez. I don't think they're going to get as much for him as they would like to. Yeah. But what they're asking for Cease is outlandish, but why not? This is Brian Reynolds part 2. We don't need to trade him. He's got 2 more years of control. He's ours. What if we get good? What if the young guys start to perform? And what if we start to get good? And by adding a couple of pieces, we're back in contention in a bad division next year, and we've got a top of the rotation starter. I can see why you'd hold on to him, but I mean the rumored trade asks around him are as equal or more than what the Pirates were asking for with Reynolds last year. It's the same thing, right? Controllable player, young, high value. Yep. So you hold out, and if somebody says we really need him, I'll give you a king's ransom for him. We lost out on Blake Snell. We think we're a pitcher away. We'll give you these, 3 of our top 20 prospects and take them because we think he's the pitcher that gets us, into the tournament. Yeah, I could see it.
Yeah.
I could see it.
All right. Well, again, I like Detroit. I think they have the best pitching. Minnesota's got the most offense, but I think the Tigers got the pitching.
Yeah, if it stays healthy, they've got a really good rotation. Yep. And if Jack Flaherty looks at his calendar and it says 2013 instead of 2023 or 2014 instead of 2024, then they've got really good pitching.
Maybe so. Anyway, on that note,
we're out.
Michael, what? You can throw us a preview for next week.
AL West next week. We'll have a little fun with the defending World Series champions, and there will be plenty of conversation about the play in Oak Vegas and that crap show that keeps peeling another layer off the onion every single day.
And if anybody thinks we were rough on the Red Sox last week, wait till we get to the Angel segment.
Oh boy. This has been built. The Angel segment's been building for years. Now we got a platform to actually say it.
Franchise malpractice for what they.
Artie Moreno, special guest next year. Next week.
Kidding. All right.
Bring him in. He won't have a picture with him. I can guarantee you that.
No, they don't have any of those.